kilometers to
You know what? They
east.
said that about Jeffrey Epstein too, and nothing was ever disclosed.
Just killed
You know.
himself because of or something.
They said,
Yeah, it
"Oh,
was
we're
the-
gonna release
the
those
prince and-
documents," and they never did.
No.
You know, along with the files, you know, the JFK files and the Epstein files, and nothing ever became of it. You know.
News for a while and then.
Exactly.
No, I'm not following it. I'm more somewhat interested in the hockey players thing.
He's the king of kink. Kink.
Oh, like Diddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the shit they're talking about. Like, he must
I
have
know,
been a
it's
sick
disgusting.
fucker. And Jesus, like, he made those kids. I don't know. I guess he was in male prostitute types and.
You know, I'll tell you a funny story. You want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
When I was younger, I was living in Vancouver, and I had a going away party for this guy in my building.
Mm-hmm.
I was managing the building as well, so this fella that I was having the party for, he really helped me a lot with the building, okay? So Paul, but he was from Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had this going away party with, you know, a bunch of people over, and I was seeing this guy. His name was Albert. And I'll tell you something about Albert. Side story is that Albert had 2 separate degrees, an MBA and a PhD.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Highly
so,
educated, yeah,
right.
smart, yeah.
Valedictorian.
Oh, really?
The man's man. Like, one time we went down to Seattle and we got swarmed by a couple of black guys.
Mm-hmm.
And right around Nordstrom's there, and he said, go in there. And I seen Albert kick shit these guys, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, and
So
he says,
tough guy and
I'm
all
a boxer. He was a boxer in university,
800
right?
meters, keep right.
So anyway,
onto
so I'm now back to this
east.
party in Vancouver. So everybody kind of leaves, goes to their apartments, and I'm laying on my couch. And at that time, I had like this really big fish aquarium. I was in the money then, you know,
Oh, okay.
and I was working at a brokerage
working
firm.
for Murray Pestham or
Yeah.
whatever.
No, I never kinked out with Murray Pestham.
No, I said working.
Yeah.
I did.
But no, I had a brokerage firm. But anyway,
Okay.
so he, so I had this really nice saltwater aquarium. Anyway, so I'm laying on my stomach, and I must have fallen asleep, and I hear like someone talking to themselves, and I think it's Albert, right? And so I look like through my arms, and I see him laying there on my
east.
carpet, and he's laying on his stomach, and he's looking into the fish aquarium, right? And then I'm looking some more like this, you know, and it's like he's
2
naked.
kilometers, keep left.
Then I look a little more, and fucking Albert, he's got my pantyhose on. I used to wear garters and fancy ass underwear back in the day, and so he's got my pantyhose on, he's got my garter belt on,
Oh, jeez.
he's got my bra on, and he's got my belt on.
Oh,
Nothing
my.
else. So now I make some noise with my feet.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I do one of those,
What's
right?
going on here?
So he gets up and he goes to the kitchen, and I'm like,
Was he
Did
trying
I-
to hide from you,
well,
or he wasn't hiding it?
he's coming out, right?
Oh,
So he's in the kitchen, and I said, and I had a really swanky place, right? So it's a big place. I said, "Where are you?" And he goes, "In the kitchen." And I'm like, "Come out here." Worst thing I ever said, you know. So he comes out, and he's wearing my high heel shoes too, right? So now he's got my high heel shoes on, my garter belt, my pantyhose, bra, belt. And he's got that belt right tight around his waist. And my heart was beating in my face. You ever been that scared in your life where you're, like, and I'm looking at him, and I go, "Come out here." I go, "What's going on?" I go, "Come out here." And he
Next
goes,
left.
he says to me, he goes, "I'm not sure, Janice." Right? And he's like, so he comes out, and I said, "Well, come out here anyway." So then he comes out, and he sits. Now I'm sitting up, and he sits in this
500
chair,
meters, keep left onto
and he puts
Highway
one
1.
leg across the other like a girl. He puts his hands on,
Oh,
and you know that movie Silence of the Lambs?
yes.
I thought this guy's coming out, and I thought he's gonna kill me.
Oh,
I
Keep
thought I
left,
was gonna be a
and then
sad
keep
statistic
right
because you know
onto
Albert,
201
like,
north.
this kind of ties into knowing wealthy men, right? Like,
Yeah.
Albert was a wealthy man. Like, I mean, he had a great career. He's guy's Forex trader. He's wearing $500 ties. Good looking man. All of it,
Keep
right?
right onto 2.
So I thought for sure he's going to kill me, right? So
Freaky.
I said, so I looked at him and I said,
3 kilometers.
"Well, what are you doing?" And he goes,
201
in this
north.
weirdest kind of voice, this angel voice, he says, like feminine voice, he says, "What's the matter, Jan?" He used to call me Jan. He goes, "Don't you like my outfit?" And as soon as he said that, the phone rang. And I pick up the phone, and it's Paul, the guy I was having the party for.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, remember, we didn't have those cell phones and stuff. We had those black little things that you could write. It was digital. You could write someone's name and their phone number. It was like a portable little directory. So Paul phones me and he's like, "Janice, I forgot my, whatever you call that thing, my phone thing or my, directory thing on your coffee table." And I said, "Oh yeah." I said, "It's right here." I said, "Come up right now and get it, right now, And he goes, "Okay, I'm coming, right?" So he comes up and Albert goes to the bathroom.
Exit 74 is on the right.
So Albert goes to the bathroom. I said, "Paul's coming up." And he goes, "Is he gonna fuck you too?" And I'm like, he forgot his little thing here. I said, "He's coming up." So Albert goes to the bathroom. I guess his clothes are in there. And Paul comes to the door. And Paul said to me after, and then Albert kind of goes, "See ya." Like he got dressed and he left. It kind of happened all so fast. And Paul says to me, "When you open that door," he says, "I said to myself, I'm not leaving till I find out what's going on, because your face was green, white, gaunt. You were white."
Fear.
And then as soon as Albert walked out, I'm like, "Oh my God," right?
Wow.
And Paul's like, "What's going on?" And I said, "Come to the bathroom." He's either left with my stuff on, I told him. And so we go to the bathroom, and sure enough, my pantyhose and my pantyhose and my garter belt, my bra, and my heels in the bathroom. He must have changed in the bathroom. So anyway, we were a very friendly building. This was a beautiful heritage building, lots of artsy-fartsy people living in it. And so I called a couple of the girls too, right? My friends in the building. And I'm like, and Paul's like, Paul called them and he goes, "You guys better get up here. Janice is out of her mind, and this is what happened." So Shauna, one of the girls that come up, I'll never forget her. She was so...
In 300 meters, left turn.
She was a very liberated girl, let's put it like that, right? So she comes in, I was more naive, right? My mom taught me everything is ayip. Ayip.
Yeah.
Everything is shame.
Yeah.
I'm so vanilla in my sex life and everything else, my love life. Boring compared to what, some people are doing, right? So Shauna comes over, Cynthia comes over, and Shauna's got this book, and she throws it at me, and she goes, "Here, read this book." And she goes, "Here, read this book. Your man's a cross-dresser. Get over it." And the book, it was called Men in Love. And this book was an essay, like about a page and a half of essays from different men, from different walks of life, put together by a psychologist. And they were writing about their fetishes. And there's so many fetishes.
Oh, I'm sure.
So the book is like this thick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I go to the cross-dressing section. I'm reading this, right? And I said, "So is he gay?" Because he hates gay people. And the building had some gay folks in it too, right? And he didn't like me smoking pot back in the day with the gay guys. He says, "You're gonna catch AIDS," right? He goes, don't smoke their joints. So anyway.
But he wasn't gay, he was just...
Well, he called me the next day, he phoned me at the brokerage firm there, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, "Jan?" And I'm like, yeah. I said, I know, because he knew I was naive, he'd always tell me, you're such a good girl, I really was, kind of a very naive, right? And he says, I says, "Yeah, I know." I couldn't even talk to him. I said, "Yeah, I know you're a cross-dresser. I know. Shauna told me all about it, and I read about it last night, and I said, I gotta go. I can't see you anymore." Click. And
that was the end of it?
That was the end of it. Well, it was kind of the end of it. Yeah, it was the end of it. I never heard from him again. But a couple of years... So then I quit the brokerage firm because my hair was falling out. I couldn't handle lying to everybody, and stuff like that. So now I'm selling cars, right? I'm working at Burrard Acura, selling these high-end cars, and part of my shtick of selling cars was I would take, if I thought the prospect was hot or like a buyer, we'd do a cruise through Stanley Park, and then I would do my 5-point presentation out in the park. And so I got the hood up of this car, and I'm going, this is this is that. And I see Albert and a girl walking, and they're pushing a baby carriage.
Oh.
Okay, listen. So the little baby in there, and I'm like, oh, hi, and there's customers looking at me. I'm like, that's an ex-boyfriend, I don't know, whatever. Then about a couple years later, I know, I managed this building for like almost 8 years, right? So 2-3 years later, I get a phone call. Well, that night, I have some plumbing issues because it's an old building, right? I have some major plumbing issues. I call my plumber. Plumber says, look, I'm out in Burnaby. I got stuff going on. I'll get there when I get there. And,
In 800 meters, right turn.
And it was getting kind of late, like, I don't know, 10:30, 11, and the phone rings. And I pick up the phone and they hang up. So I'm like, I need this plumber. What the hell? So I call back the number and there's no answer. All right? And the plumber never showed up. He got too tied up. He came the next day, right? So anyway, so the next day I get a phone call, right? And it's a woman, right? And she goes, hello, is this Janice? And I said, yes, it is. And she goes, you don't know me, but we have a mutual friend. And I said, oh, who's that? And she says, Albert.
Oh.
She says, I'm the mother of his child.
Oh.
And I said, okay, but why are you calling me? And she goes, because you called here last night. And I said, what are you talking about? I haven't talked to Albert. She goes, you know Albert, right? And she goes, you know all about Albert too. And I said, listen. And she sounded kind of frantic. And I said to her, look, I manage this building, right? So, and I think I know what's going on. So if you want to come over here and be cool, then we can talk. She came over with her baby. And what happened was, I said, I didn't call you.
In 300 meters,
I said,
your destination is ahead on the left.
I said, I got a phone call. I was waiting for my plumber last night.
Your destination is ahead on the left.
On the left.
The number 6711.
So she says, so she comes over. Long story short, she comes over.
Here it is.
And I guess
Turn around.
she came home. She told Albert she's going to her mom's, right?
You have arrived at your destination.
But
the route guidance
she
is now
forgot
finished.
something. So she had to come back, right? When she comes back, she said she went into the bedroom and there was Albert dressed as a woman.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
She just discovered this?
Yeah,
After
and she
having a
grabbed,
kid.
I guess they got into a physical altercation. She pushed him into these mirrors in their bedroom. And then I guess she left, the cops came, and I guess Albert called me. I didn't answer because I was sleeping. And then when I called back, he's already arrested and taken out. Anyway, I'll continue the rest of the story later.
Jeez, you should write a book.
But, so that's pretty funny. How this ties into P. Diddy, I'll tell you.
Okay. Good thing we got long ways to go. Okay, do I need anything?